Hello, and welcome to another edition of Terrier Spotlight. I am Catherine Barron.
And I am John Chavone, and on today's Terrier Spotlight, we're going to be introduced to Mr. Ben Modell.
Mr. Modell is a film accompanist who has composed musical scores for many silent films.
On Tuesday, February 10th, we were lucky enough to have Mr. Modell on campus to play his original score for the 1920 version of The Mark of Zorro with Douglas Fairbanks. Our own Kate Meany was there with the report.
Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
How did this film series start?
How did the film series start? Professor Gewirtz contacted me and said we want to show silent movies. He's friend with a guy named Philip Harwood, who's a film historian and does a number of shows out on Long Island and at the 92nd Street Y. And I've done a few shows with Philip at different libraries out on Long Island. And so I guess Philip must have been talking to Professor Gewirtz
and also Dr. Weiss.
And Dr. Weiss, exactly. So they came up with the idea and contacted me.
How did you get your start accompanying these wonderful movies?
I was a film production major at NYU many years ago, and this is before video. So the film history classes, they used to show 16mm film, and the silent films were shown in dead silence. And I had grown up being a huge fan of silent movies, and was also a musician, and probably secretly wanted to give this a shot. And I figured, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's got to be better than nothing. And I wanted to help these movies because they were dying every week in front of a couple hundred film students. So I went to the head of the department and offered to try this. They loved the idea, and I met a guy who was playing for films in the 1920s, a guy named Lee Irwin, and so I became friends with him. There used to be an organ at a repertory cinema around the corner from Carnegie Hall, and so I met him there, and we became friends, and I would just ask him questions. What works here, what doesn't work here, should I do this, should I do that, and he would suggest things or answer my questions, and just knowing him and just being able to connect with somebody from that era, and also to be able to pass that on is just a great deal of fun.
When you're writing a piece, do you take note of the original score, or do you not from that? And go off on your own?
Well, for most of these films, there is no original score per se. There were a number of different ways that films were accompanied in the silent era. There were people who would create their own score and using improvisation, which is the way I worked, is the way Lee Irwin would work, or you would write out some themes. There were people who played mood music that was published for film accompaniment. Every movie theater had a huge library, and people would just sort of compile their own score. There were also cue sheets that were sent out where somebody else would sit down and compile a list of all these mood cues and send it out. And there would be people who read those and play those exactly as written. There were some films, big super productions and that sort of thing, where there were complete written out scores. The problem with some of those is that they sound dated to me. There are some people who swear by them and use them and play them as written. And I find that the thing is that people's musical tastes and what they expect from film music are very different from the way film music was in the 19-teens and 1920s. At that time, a lot of the film scoring was repetitive. It was kind of superficial isn't the right word, but it matched the action. And so you would play a piece where the song title would match the action, regardless of the drama of the scene. And what I try to do, and what I learned from Lee, and I think this also comes from my being a filmmaker as well, is to try to underscore the drama of the scene and make the film work for a contemporary audience the way the people who made it would want it to work for them, and would have wanted it to work, when it was initially released. The idea is to take the film seriously as much as possible and make it work for people of today.
Do you have a favorite piece or a favorite movie you've written for?
No. People always, and when people contact me, and this happens when...
We have this conversation.
Yeah, we have this conversation, me and Professor Gewirtz and Dr. Weiss. Well, what do you like to play for? Well, what do you want to show? I'm really more like a film programmer. And so I like to play for everything. And for me, doing what I do means that people can see silent movies and enjoy them. So if we haven't shown Doug Fairbanks, we show Mark of Zorro. If we haven't shown Keaton, we pick a Keaton film that fits in the time frame. So I really, if I've been playing for comedy shorts for a couple of weeks, a Russian picture is a breath of fresh air. If I've been doing 3 months of, or 3 weeks of Swedish pictures, a comedy short is a lot of fun. They're all lots of fun. It always depends on the audience and what they've seen and what we would like to show them.
What do you hope students take away from this experience watching the silent film and hearing the live accompaniment?
I think the main thing is that they get a sense of what silent film really is. To some degree, it's really an experience, and you can't stream the experience that silent film is. It has to be seen big, and the live music really adds another dimension to it. The main thing is to understand what this genre is. It's not just old film. It really comes to life in a theatrical setting with live music. So if you can just get past the word silent, because it isn't really silent, it's just movies from the 20s with live music, to see that the films are fun, they're exciting, they're well made, and really because most of cinema language developed during this time, it's a great way for students, especially people who are interested in filmmaking, whether you're carrying high-end equipment or shooting with your iPhone, learning how to tell a story visually. Because anybody can point their phone or their camera at their friends and just talk and talk and talk. But to tell a story visually, and the building blocks that take up each scene and set things up and develop rhythms, all come from silent cinema. So that's, I think, is a great way to learn filmmaking, is by watching these movies.
One last question. What movie would you have loved to write a piece for?
I wish I had an answer for that, because it's always, it's never something, it's for me, I don't think like a musician and a composer. So I don't have a film that I would love to write music for. Like I said, it's about the audience, whether it's college students or there are senior living facilities where I show comedies, and they have a great time, and they always say afterwards, we don't get to laugh like this. And that's an exciting show for me. So it doesn't matter what the film is, but it's really, for me, about the audience and matching a film with an audience, whether it's something that's well-known or something that's rare, like the comedy films of Marcel Perez, which I just released on DVD.
Quickly tell us what you were saying about the film festivals you were talking about.
Film festivals?
The series.
I produce and accompany movies at the Silent Clowns film series. We've been around for 18 years, showing silent comedy film once a month, and we do our shows at the library at Lincoln Center, the Bruno Walter Auditorium. It's a library for the performing arts, and our website is silentclowns.com. And this year, from February through the summer, we are doing a salute to the Hal Roach Comedy Studios. All comedy shorts, Laurel and Hardy, Our Gang, Snub Pollard, Harold Lloyd, Max Davidson, and everybody in between. So definitely check it out. It's free. It's a Saturday afternoon at 2:30. Go to silentclowns.com to see what we've got listed and check it out.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you again.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks.